Hi, everybody, and welcome to my resume clinics. This is part of our mini series designed to help pharmacy techs and healthcare workers translate their experience into language that better aligns with job requirements and career goals. Those who don't know me yet, I'm Elena Rutka, career strategist for pharmacy techs and healthcare workers. I'm the creator and podcast host of Pharmacy Tech Unfiltered. This is a podcast streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I'm also all over social media on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I even have my own Pharmacy Tech Unfiltered group, which you are more than welcome to join. I usually share career related posts, reels, and support for pharmacy techs and healthcare workers that want to either pivot completely out of pharmacy or healthcare and don't know how to translate their skills into something that can potentially help them land a job in a different field. Or my advice can also be used by current pharmacy techs who don't want to leave pharmacy. They want to grow and progress in what they're doing and just to learn how to better handle toxic jobs, toxic managers, toxic people they have to deal with on a daily basis. I started my career as a pharmacy technician, so I was showing up early, staying late, juggling accuracy, pressure, and people. And like many techs, I was the invisible glue holding it all together. But over time, I realized I wanted more peace, more growth, more value for the work I was doing. Without going back to school, I transitioned into biopharma and eventually into quality auditor role. I tripled my income and finally found the balance I had been craving, all by learning how to translate my skills into something employers outside the pharmacy could recognize and value. Now, I help other pharmacy techs and healthcare support professionals do the same. Whether you are burned out, feeling stuck, or just ready for a change, I'm here to help you. And what I can help you with is to reframe your experience in a way that gets noticed. Build a resume that reflects your actual value. Navigate job searches and pivots with clarity and confidence. And say yes to new opportunities, even if they feel out of reach. This isn't cookie cutter advice. It's honest, strategic support from someone who's been where you are and found the way forward. So, the plan for today is this session will last probably half an hour or so. I will review the examples of resumes of real techs I'm receiving. This is a result of my campaign that I've recently launched, where you can submit your resume and it will be reviewed by me for free. Although spots are limited, I'm only taking a couple more people this month. And why I'm doing that, it's all explained in my recent episode of Pharmacy Tech Unfiltered. This is episode 10, where I go deeper into why I'm doing this, who I am, and I'm also sharing my personal journey, how I first of all became a pharmacy technician, and then how I stopped being one and moved into a completely different field, which still uses all my skills and knowledge and expertise that I gained as a pharmacy tech, but I was able to translate it into a role that pays better, that gives me better benefits, better work life balance, and just general job satisfaction. So, I will talk about most common mistakes pharmacy techs and healthcare workers make when they apply for jobs, whether outside of pharmacy or healthcare, or even within when they want to move from retail pharmacy into hospital, for example. I'll show you a job ad and walk you through how I changed a resume for someone who only worked in retail for over 10 years and they wanted to find a job outside of retail. They were not completely sure whether they want to pivot out of pharmacy, but I still reframed and repurposed their resume specifically for this job that I will be sharing today. And I'll show you a couple of tweaks to the resume that just made it a better fit for the position. So stick with me and let's get started. So, this episode is about transitioning from retail to hospital pharmacy and what managers look for in their next ideal candidate. So, what I have realized from my personal journey and also looking at all those resumes I'm receiving and the feedback that hiring managers provide is that they are not looking just at the job titles, they are looking beyond this. And when they get your resume, they will be scanning for clinical readiness, how adaptable you are, and how well you can work under pressure. Here are the things that hospital managers are specifically looking for on a resume from a retail tech. First of all, it's the evidence of how accurate you are and how quick you are. And why it matters? It's because hospitals require precision. You can agree with me, right? A mistake that is made during an IV prep is much more riskier than a miscount in pills, right? So instead of just saying, I've handled prescriptions and I answered phone calls, I communicated with doctors and patients, put as much detail as you can when applying for a hospital position. Put something like maintain 99% accuracy in high volume prescription fills, and even put how many prescriptions daily you fill on a regular basis. Also, phrase like recognized for attention to detail during medication reconciliation audits. Even though you have never used a word audit in your current job, but you are doing medication reconciliation, right? You are doing something that deals with it. Rephrase it, put it in the language that hiring managers recognize better and they see how transferable your skills are and how they can make a use of your skills in this next job. The next point is familiarity with clinical or sterile concepts. I put it here if you are specifically looking for a position at a hospital which deals with IV medication, and this is a big chunk of hospital positions. But there are also roles that do not require sterile or aseptic technique. These are called just inpatient hospital tech. So basically, when you look at the job ad, you can analyze and scan it for words like sterile, compounding, IV, and then you will get an understanding whether this specific position deals with sterile compounding or not. So, why familiarity with clinical or sterile concepts matters? It matters because if you haven't worked in IV or compounding yet, managers want to know you are trainable and aware. So, what you want to include in your resume, even if you've dealt with compounding a little bit, you want to put completed USP 797 or 800 overview training. It can be self study or CE. And I strongly recommend doing that, not just writing these words on your resume, but actually going into the standards and reading them or doing some free trainings that can help you gain the understanding and knowledge of what this thing is about. Because if you eventually land this interview first with the recruiter and then with the hiring manager, you will sit with them and they will start asking you questions. And if you know nothing about this and it's just written on your resume, guess what? You will not get this job. It doesn't mean that you have to be an expert to apply for positions that require you to deal with IV and sterile compounding, but just general understanding of the topic and the ability to speak with the hiring manager the same language will give you 100 points ahead of those techs who did not bother checking out what USB 797 or 800 is. Also, you can put on your resume something like collaborated with providers on prior authorizations for injectables or specialty meds. Well, what this is about is I'm pretty sure that on a regular basis you call the doctors, healthcare providers, you deal with patients and discuss questions related to injectables or some specialty meds. You just never knew that this can be put on a resume in this way. So this is kind of the same type of thing that you're doing, but in a more refined way. Okay, the next thing is your ability to learn new systems and adapt fast. I'm sure you can learn fast because you're working in a fast paced environment. In retail, everything is moving super fast. What you want to put on your resume is something like proficient in pharmacy software. And here you can put the specifics because what I'm seeing on the resumes, and I'll show you later, pharmacy techs put general phrases like proficient in pharmacy software, but they don't put exactly which software. What are you dealing with? Just throw in a couple of names, because if this hiring manager, pharmacist, or whoever you're talking with, they maybe previously worked with these systems and software, this is maybe the common ground for you to build a conversation on. Or if they see something on your resume that they are familiar with, they already kind of know that, okay, you know the system, I know the system, I know how it works. I can train this person to learn a new system. Not a big deal, but put these specifics. Why it matters? Most hospitals often use Epic, Pyxis, Omnicell, and they need technicians who are not afraid of this new technology and new software systems. If you don't know what Epic is, or what Pyxis is, what Omnicell is, Google it. This is my general rule when I apply for jobs and there is something on the job description that I don't understand or I didn't deal with previously, like the names of software or some processes that I'm not familiar with. I Google it. I get myself prepared in case of a question related to this specific thing. I at least don't freeze and I know what to answer. I may say something like, I have not directly worked with this, but I did some research prior to this interview and I see that this system works like this and it looks familiar and similar to another system that I used to work with in my previous job. And because I see those similarities, I think that the skills that I gained previously, they can be transferable and I can easily learn this new system, this new skill. So show that you did your homework, okay? The next thing that needs to be clear on your resume is communication and collaboration. Why it matters. Hospital techs interact with nurses, pharmacists, and sometimes patients. And miscommunication here can cost lives. What do you want to include? Statements like collaborated with multidisciplinary teams to resolve discrepancies. Okay, don't just say that you picked up calls from the doctor or you had to call the prescriber office. Put the language on the resume that kind of means the same but sounds differently. You know what I mean? And of course, if you had any other relevant experience, you can put additional information on your resume, something like served as a liaison between pharmacy and front end clinical staff during COVID-19 vaccine rollout. If you were the one giving those shots, put it on your resume, but don't just underestimate your value and help the hiring managers see that value that you can bring to the table. And of course, professionalism and initiative. Why it matters on your resume? Well, managers want people who show up, ready to learn and elevate the workflow. So, what do you want to include? You can put something like cross trained in inventory, insurance billing, and controlled substance logs. So, here you would put something that goes beyond your regular job duties. If you had an opportunity to learn something on the side, put it here. It gives value. It just shows the hiring manager that you are not only doing your direct job responsibilities, but also able to learn new things, and you are open to new opportunities. For example, volunteer to train new hires and support scheduling needs. This is also good. I worked in 3 different hospitals, and only one had a designated trainer. So if you are the one who volunteered to train new people in your current job, put it on your resume. It tells the hiring manager you're not afraid of taking up additional responsibilities like training other people. And it can give you point when it comes to the hiring decision. And of course, I like those resumes that start with a summary statement at the very beginning, because this is basically like your label. Maybe that's not the best word to describe, but what I mean here is when the recruiter or the hiring manager looks at the resume, that's the first thing that pops up. And if you have this summary statement, nice, concise, and showing your real value, it will immediately give boost to your resume. It gives them the understanding of who you are, what you are about, and what value you can bring to the table. This doesn't need to be very long. It's usually 1 or 2 sentence summary that focuses on your career goals. So if you are trying to switch from retail into hospital, state your intention to transition to hospital, and also highlight some of your key strengths. You can emphasize precision, that you are a quick learner and a great collaborator. And here is an example. Retail pharmacy technician with 6+ years of high volume experience seeking to transition into hospital pharmacy. Known for precision, fast learning, and strong team collaboration. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple of examples of resumes I'm receiving from Pharmacy Techs. This is a result of my resume clinic campaign I launched this month. I still have 3 spots open for the rest of this month. So if you want your resume to get reviewed by me for free, completely for free, go ahead and sign up. The sign up form is in the notes. It will ask you a couple of questions, and then I will reach out directly to you with the next steps. Usually it's an email from me asking you to submit your resume, and I'm also asking to blur or delete any personal information like your address, phone, and things like that. And then if you are interested in some jobs, you can also submit links to those ones so I can give you the tailored review of the resume and make it, more suitable for the job that you want to apply for. So go ahead, the link is in the notes. Sign up. Okay, so this is one of the resumes I received recently. What I wanted to pay attention to is how repetitive this is. So this person worked in various places. It's like 2 pages resume. But you see how repetitive this is? Every single job starts with the same statement. I perform my job safely and efficiently, blah, blah, blah. And that's every single job. Do you really think that a hiring manager or a recruiter at first, because the first step for your resume is to pass the recruiter selection process, right? So I'm just sitting here and thinking, if I'm the recruiter and I have this resume and I look at it and I see like I perform my job 500 times on this resume, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like I have to do extra digging into it. And do you think they have time for that? Do you think they have time or they want to dig into every specific resume and try to understand what you are about? If it's not sticking right away, if it's not telling them in bullet points what you are about, what you did, what your value is, they will pass to another one. Your resume is not the only one that they have on their desk. They have hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know. Resume is your selling point. This is your best ad. Make it represent your best version. Don't make hiring managers or recruiters sit and figure out what you are about. And I see there is value. There is value in this resume, but it is hidden. It is covered with dust and whatnot. And I'm saying that not to criticize this person, not to blame anybody, not to point fingers at. This is a working session. This is an example. We are working through it to see how we can transform it into something that helps this person bring the value to the table, show recruiters and hiring managers what they are about, and help them eventually move to the next stage. Okay, what else I'm seeing here is the fact that this person has worked in the same place since 2007 to 2016. So, what I'm thinking is that they got promoted, they moved to a different department, but they still stayed with the same pharmacy, same place. And it took almost a whole second page. And you see how redundant that is? What I suggest here is to combine those three experiences under one heading, because I'm seeing that the job title has not changed. The place they worked at has not changed either. There's a slight difference in job duties. So we can basically combine everything just under one title. We can put the dates from 2007 to 2016 and just list in bullet points all those things that this person has been doing. And of course, get rid of this descriptive beginning of the sentence. This is a repetition and it's not needed. So another example I'm going to show you is this one. So this one looks slightly differently. It starts with a professional summary, which I absolutely love. It gives, in a nutshell, what this person is about. However, they say here they are experienced pharmacy technician. It doesn't tell me right away whether they are certified or not. I need to scroll all the way down to figure that out and find out if they are indeed certified. So what I'm seeing here is, here on almost on the third page, certification. Yes, I see that. So I would definitely move the certification part at the very top. You want it to be obvious right away from the very top of your resume. Whoever is looking at it, they know that you are certified. All right, what I see here and what is different from the previous resume is that this person used bullet points, which is much better, much cleaner, right? If you compare it back to this one, this is like an essay type of resume where everything is written in long sentences and you have to, really pay attention reading this. This one is way easier. It grabs attention right away. I hope you can see that too. But what it's missing is the details. And the statements that this person is using here are very general. For example, led a team of 5 techs and supported daily operations. Like, what exactly did you do? Did you fill prescriptions? How many? Did you do prior authorizations? What the result was? You want to somehow include the results of your work in your resume. Don't just put general statements there. I did this, I did that. What effect and what result did you have by doing that? How many prescriptions do you fill on a regular basis? What's your accuracy percentage? What's the number of phone calls that you handle? Things like that. It really brings you value. And if you see that, for example, hiring manager or recruiter looks at 100 resumes like that, where they just list general statements and don't give details and facts, and all of a sudden there is a resume from you where you tell the specifics, the details, you provide data, it sticks out immediately. It gives you value and you have more chances to get, to the next stage in the hiring process. Okay. And the third example of a resume I wanted to show you is this one. And guess what? This is my resume from 2020 when I was working at my last Pharmacy Tech job. And I was applying with this resume. I was applying to other positions and I was targeting Biopharma at that time. So as you see, my resume is the exact example of how not to write your resume. It doesn't differ from this one or from that one. So it's the essay type of resume. Lists my experience, lists things that I've done, but it's so hard to read and pick these most important pieces of information. So no wonder I was sitting there and nobody was calling me back. My resume wasn't perfect. I'm showing my own resume to you from 2020 just to tell you that I am not special. I did the same type of mistakes that you do on your resumes, the same type of mistakes that you do on your interviews. but I learned from my mistakes, and now I give you this knowledge and everything I knew through this almost 5 years of continuous interviewing and applying for different positions. What to do, what not to do, and how to tweak your resume so it's fitting better and showing your real value and giving you the chance to get where you want to be. Now, what I want to show you here is a job ad from Cone Health. This is a huge hospital in my home state, the state of North Carolina. I have interviewed with them in the past. Very nice people, very good recruiters, great hiring managers. And to be even more honest with you, I have interviewed for this specific position with them for the certified pharmacy validation specialist, but it was back in 2020. What are you going to be doing here if you have a job of the pharmacy validation specialist? So you are validating specific functions. Basically, you are doing a tag check tag type of job. The way it looks like, and I'm telling from experience right now, because when I went for this interview, they actually let me shadow. You are checking medications that another technician has pulled, and those are usually non-patient specific. This is to refill fixes, and they put a label on it, and you are basically checking the accuracy, checking the number count, and check the label and stuff like that. So this is validation. So what I'm seeing here is the word validation that comes up several times. I'm also seeing medication inventory, drug supply devices, hospital kits, floor stock, unidose distribution systems, a type of things that I want my resume to reflect when I apply. Because I don't know if you know, but there's a system that scans resumes for those keywords. Because you can imagine recruiters get hundreds, thousands resumes, right? There's no way a person can sit through them all. So the first process is most probably is an automated system that gets through this, pool of resumes. And in order to pass this first initial step, your resume needs to speak to the words that are listed here and have them on your resume. Requirement of the job is the Associate of Applied Science. They want 2 years of experience and, of course, registration through PTCB or NHA prior to hire. Okay, so now I'll be taking the resume from before this one and I'll be changing it, tweaking it, updating it, translating it into something that fits the job, something that helps this person get noticed by first the system and then the recruiter and finally the hiring manager. I'll pull up my slides here and we'll go through it. So this is my section by section resume transformation. What we're going to be doing is we'll review the original resume to identify areas that need improvement. We will restructure the content and reorganize information to highlight relevant skills and experience. And we will enhance formatting because, as you remember, the format of that resume was essay type. We don't want to have it this way. We want to update it. We will start with the professional summary. In the original, the person was saying, I perform my job safely and efficiently, and that was repeated for each role. In the updated version, in the professional summary, we'll put something like detail-oriented, certified pharmacy technician with 15 plus years. That's how long this person has been doing her job of progressive experience. I will also put a sentence, proven success as a backend supervisor, because that's her most recent job, with strong leadership. And I also put the sentence, seeking to transition into a hospital-based validation role. I wanted to make clear that the person is working in retail but wants to move into hospital. Why I'm doing this type of changes? It's because the original was repetitive. It had task-based statements. I rewrote them to summarize this text value in one punchy paragraph that, first of all, highlights leadership, experience, and validation readiness. It targets the hospital setting and uses career language for example, transition and clinical accuracy. What I also did, I added a skills section where I listed things like medication distribution validation, but it was worded completely differently. I also added unit dose and floor stock oversight, technician workflow verification, sterile and non-sterile compounding, and added USB 797/800 compliance. I added that because the person had some previous experience in compounding, but the way it was mentioned in the original resume was very not clear and not bringing any value. So if you did some sterile compounding, put it in such a way that sticks right away. Hospitals often scan resumes for specific clinical words, and this skills section, this is exactly the space for you to put your skills. Typing is great, but unfortunately, it won't be useful in hospital. And if the skill is not directly transferable, I would not even bother putting it on my resume. You know that each resume should be tailored for a specific job. You cannot use the same resume and apply for 100 positions. You will not get called because there are specifics, right? And you want to put a couple of those words from the job ad into your resume so that your resume is relevant and it reflects the needs of this position. So adding the skills section highlights clinical and technical relevance. It matches job posting language exactly and also adds value for this applicant tracking system. This is the system I was talking about that scans resumes. Now, how I changed the job descriptions. In the original, it was saying I was managing other employees' work, schedules, solving problems, inventory, preparing prescriptions, compounding, IV prep. There's a lot of value in this, but it's not tailored. It's not put in words that help this value shine. So the way I updated it is I supervise back-end pharmacy operations. Instead of saying managing inventory, I put validate inventory accuracy. See, this is a job of a validation specialist. We want the word validate to be at least a couple times in this resume. Then for compounding in the IV prep, I tweaked it and said I did the prep work for sterile, non-sterile compounding and oversee team output for compliance. Compliance is a great word. This is loved, absolutely loved by hospitals and pharma world. Compliance is everything. And then instead of managing other employees' work, I put direct team scheduling and resolve workflow issues to maintain medication distribution. I don't know what about you, but for me, it sounds way better, way more structured, way more clear, and in the language that hiring managers understand. Why I did what I did. I wanted to emphasize validation and oversight. This is key to the validation specialist role. I used hospital-aligned verbs such as validate, comply, oversee, prepare, and support. I removed vague or casual phrasing such as solving not only employees' problems, and I substituted with resolve workflow issues. Next step, I condensed redundant roles. If you remember, that person worked for several years at the same store, in the same position, just having slightly different job duties. So what I would do right away, I would combine it into one section, right? So it's a better option to put it all together. If you, for example, have separate entries for retail roles at different retail chains, but they all have identical descriptions, you still can consolidate them and condense them into one section. So how you can do that is that you can put something like certified pharmacy tech, and then instead of listing 5 different locations, you could put various locations and list them in brackets, whether it's CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, and put years. And if those job duties were the same in all those places, just list them all together under one section. Why it's worth doing that? Because it prevents the resume from feeling repetitive and bloated. It also allows the focus to shift from retail routine to clinical relevance and shows longevity and loyalty while freeing space for higher impact content. Now, certification and licenses. So, in the original resume, certification and licenses were listed at the very bottom with date ranges. I repositioned that. I put it at the very top and moved more critical credentials to just make it more visible. For hospital roles, licenses and certifications status is critical. And elevating this section helps you to draw immediate attention and aligns with job requirements, such as must have PTCB, must be licensed in the state. So give this information at the very top of your resume so nobody is questioning or looking for this. I also cleaned up the education section so it looks like the person started associate degree, went for school for some time, then dropped, and then came back. And it was listed exactly. I don't know if this level of detail needs to be revealed on your resume, and honestly, I don't think they care that you had a break in between. Just list the years when you went to school and the result of it, your associate degree, right? Again, why we want to do that? It removes redundancy, it focuses on the most relevant credential, and shows a clean and professional format. And a couple of additional highlights. I added a new section where I transformed the original statement. I'm very alert and aware of my surroundings. That was also repeated a couple times on the resume. Changed it into ready for rapid onboarding into hospital care environment and a strong in personal communication and validation leadership. Why I did that? Well, because original phrasing felt very generic and it was also informal. I don't quite like the phrase I'm very alert and aware. This is good in conversations, but not on professional resume. And again, when I give my remarks and all the things I say, it's not to criticize this person, it's to correct those mistakes, okay? And make you just look better on your resume and give you chances to land a better job. I also replaced those informal statements with hospital specific competences that demonstrate readiness and proactivity. So, in summary, what I substituted and why. In the original, there was a lot of task repetition. I answer phones, I multitask. I substituted it with leadership verbs such as validate, oversee, coordinate. Why? Because I wanted this resume to be focused on accountability, not tasks. Next, in the original, there were multiple similar job entries. How I substituted it, I put hospital aligned keywords such as unit dose, sterile compounding, EMR, and I did it to match the job posting and speak employer's language. Original also had a lot of generic descriptions. The change I made was that I condensed timeline with highlights and I added clinical skills. And I did it to reduce visual clutter, to boost relevance, and to help pass ATC filters and to grab attention fast. Now, if you remember, this is how the resume looked like initially. Again, essay type, no bullet points, very blank, hard to read, hard to get to the point what this person is doing, what this person is all about. A lot of repetition. Now it looks like this. It got some color. It is split into sections. We know right away that this person is a certified pharmacy tech. She's ready for validation. She wants to move into hospital. This is her detailed summary that tells us about her experience and that she is ready for new role in the hospital. That lists her knowledge of USP standards. It also has core competencies that are relevant for the position and the hospital work. It gives some additional highlights. And it lists the experience in such a way that it's very easy to read and understand. It's not cluttered, it has bullet points, it has relevant language, the same language that recruiters and hospitals and hiring managers speak. We got rid of the redundancy. Nice, neat, tidy, ready to apply. Now, if you want your resume to look something like this, or you need some help in navigating how to translate your 20 years of experience into a resume that can potentially help you land a job at a completely different industry, please reach out. The sign up form is in the episode description. If you like this episode, please let me know. I would love to read your comments, what you struggle with, what your biggest issue is when you have to tweak your resume, whether you don't have time for that, you don't know how to make it suitable for the position you want to apply for. Let me know. Let's figure it out together. If you are not yet subscribed for my Pharmacy Tech Unfiltered channel, please do, as I will be going deeper into resume building, into interview tips, into even mock interviews and things like that. And I'm also thinking about sharing my experience of real interviews that I had. And this is quite a list of companies. I will not be sharing this publicly yet, but if you want to subscribe for a closed group or my closed channel where I share this specific industry related interviews, you can do that. The link for this in the notes as well. And just a sneak peek of the companies I'm talking about is Duke University Hospital, University of North Carolina, such companies as Merck, Pfizer, Astella, IQVIA, Parexel, Biogen, just to name a few. Those are the companies I personally had the pleasure to collaborate with, to have an interview with. So I am happy to share my firsthand experience. But as I said, I don't think I will be doing it openly on YouTube. But if you are interested in learning more about this, how to prepare yourself for an interview with companies like that, and those are big companies, they are either in biopharma or clinical research. If you're interested in this, please sign up. I'll be more than happy to share my experience with you and help you land your next dream job. Well, thank you for being with me. Thank you for listening. I'm Elena Rutka, and this is Pharmacy Tech Unfiltered Resume Clinics mini series. I'll see you in the next episode. And for those who are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I'll be uploading this episode on the platforms as well. The only thing is that it's not going to be visual for you. If you want to see exactly what I did, all my presentations and things that I was showing on the screen, you are more than welcome to tune in into YouTube. Bye, everyone.